So I'm sure by the title of this video, you're probably pretty confused or curious as to what I mean. And this video is going to be a continuation of my last video where I talked about how my experience at the hospital almost got me killed. If you're not up to date on my very interesting medical history, you can go back and watch that video, and I go into more detail about what I was diagnosed with and points in time. But if you're not going to watch it, I'll just give you like a quick summary. Basically, back in 2021, I got some blood work done. It showed I had really high platelets, like over double what the max range is on the spectrum. The specialist at the time told me it's nothing to worry about. I wasn't considered a critical case, so they didn't do anything. A couple months later, I got this really bad pain, like right under my chest. Went to the hospital and got diagnosed with a blood clot and a few other things at the time, and learned that I had what's called a JAK2 mutation, which is a mutation that basically doesn't allow your body to regulate how many cells you're producing or how many cells are flowing through your system. So as a result of that, my platelet count skyrocketed, and that put me at risk for a blood clot. So to remedy all of that, besides being put on blood thinners and everything, I have what's called a TIPS, which stands for transjugular intrahepatic portosystemic shunt, which is all a very fancy way of saying I have like a little bypass stent that helps my blood flow better. So yeah, that's been from May of 2021 until now, obviously. But this is a continuation of that because a lot has happened since then. Or since I made that video, actually. So back in either December or January of this year, so start of 2023, I was getting a routine checkup on that TIPS that was put in place to make sure that it wasn't reclotting and it was still open and flowing the way it's supposed to. And on that scan, I think it was a CT scan, they discovered a mass on my liver. And at the time, it was just like, hey, by the way, we found this. It's just like a coincidental finding. If you were to scan 100 people walking down the street, a majority of them would probably have some mass on their liver or something, going on. So I was like, oh, okay, it's, probably not a big deal. But the liver doctor referred me to a surgeon, and basically the surgeon told me they were going to do a biopsy to rule out the worst case scenario and figure out what this mass was. So we did the biopsy, and the biopsy came back basically inconclusive. They just listed everything it could possibly be, which doesn't help anybody. I'll put a screenshot of the pathology report, but basically they said that it could be one of 4 or 5 different things, all of them being not serious, except for the last thing that they put, which was a well-differentiated hepatocellular carcinoma. That's all really fancy talk for liver cancer. And I was really worried, obviously. I talked to a bunch of doctor friends and sent them the pathology report, and they said, they always just put that at the end. The fact that they put it at the end is probably, just to cover their butts, and the likelihood of it being that is very low. I was like, okay, I guess then I have nothing to worry about. And after talking to the surgeon, he basically gave me 2 options. He said, if you want, we could do surgery to remove this mass on your liver right now without knowing what it is, just as a precaution, but it's really risky considering that you are at high risk of clotting and bleeding because I'm on blood thinners. Anytime I have to do any kind of procedure, since I have my blood clotting disorder, they have to basically write me up a special blood clotting protocol that I need to follow. So I'm currently on warfarin or Coumadin, which is a pill that thins my blood, and it basically has like a 5-day delay. So if the one I take today will thin my blood 5 days from now, or something along those lines. And so if I want to go into surgery having like normal blood thickness so that I don't bleed to death, I would have needed to stop it 5 days prior, and then restarting it, it would take 5 days to kick in. So that's basically 10 days of risking clotting again. So they switched me what's called to Lovenox, which is basically an injection, and I inject myself twice a day because the activation period for Lovenox is very, very quick. So if I inject myself right now, my blood will be thin for the next 12 hours. So if I know I'm going to have a procedure tomorrow morning, the doctor instructs me to not take my nighttime dose of Lovenox the night before to ensure that my blood is, not going to kill me during the surgery. It's very, very, complicated doctor stuff that I just listen to, obviously. So that the surgeon was very, very hesitant to recommend surgery to me because of that reason. He said, you're already at risk of bleeding, and liver surgery is very painful. And the normal pain remedies we would do for someone having liver surgery, we can't do for you because of the blood thinners. So normally they give what's called an epidural, which is what they give, women who are giving birth. And the reason that he said that I would not be able to opt for that pain management route is because of my higher risk of bleeding. They need to know if something is wrong. And if I'm just completely unable to feel pain, I won't even know something's wrong. And so I could be bleeding internally without knowing. So from the get-go, he was very hesitant, and he said, it would be really risky. And after talking to some other friends and other doctors, they recommended I wait. And the surgeon said, you could just wait 3 months, rescan again in 3 months, and there's a chance that whatever this is, because we still didn't know, goes away or shrinks or doesn't grow. And if it doesn't grow and it's not causing any symptoms, then we don't need to worry about it. I was like, okay. At first I wanted to do the surgery, but after hearing everyone's point of view, I decided to wait and rescan again 3 months later. So fast forward to May, I get the rescan or the re-MRI of this mass, and initially when they first discovered it, the dimensions of the mass were 2.1 centimeters by 1.9 centimeters, so relatively small. But then the MRI in May showed that it was 3.4 centimeters by 2.1 centimeters or something. It grew pretty much. And so talking to the surgeon, he said, we are obligated to remove it surgically at this point because it grew. And we still didn't know what it was. And I'm, trying to figure out, I'm asking, is there a chance it's cancer? And he said, the likelihood of it being cancer is so small. And everyone seemed to kind of dismiss it. Even the liver doctors I was talking to told me that at my age and liver cancer that starts in the liver is extremely rare anyways. And then for me being 28 years old, this normally is something that they see in much older patients that are 60, 65 that have cirrhosis or some sort of like hepatitis, which I have neither of those. So it's not likely to be cancer, which was reassuring to hear, but in the back of my head, I was always kind of skeptical. But fast forward to the surgery on June 1st, I get to the hospital, they put me in the gown and everything, and it's not my first time, in the hospital being prepped for surgery, so I kind of knew how it goes, and they took me to the OR, and they put the mask on my face and put me to sleep, and then you wake up hours later, and you don't even know what happened. So after the surgery, I woke up, everything seemed to be going smoothly. I was in good spirits. Everyone around me said it. A doctor said it went successfully. Everything is good. Even my recovery after the first day was looking pretty good. I was only supposed to be in the hospital about 2 or 3 days. So the first day they had me try to stand up, like they helped me up to stand on my own and try to walk to the bathroom by myself. I don't know if I was using a walker or not, but regardless, I was able to stand up and walk to the bathroom and back to my bed, which was great for one day after surgery. And then they had to obviously restart my blood thinners, and that's when kind of the problems started to arise. So then the next day, day 2, they tried to have me stand up again and see if I could walk to the bathroom again. I tried to stand up and I immediately was unable to support myself, and I fell and I dropped to my knees, and I was so fatigued and tired, and it didn't feel like it did the day before. And I had one of the doctors run and grab me a trash can, and I started vomiting. And then I was feeling a really, really, really awful pain. Some of the most intense pain I felt recently. And it turns out that I was bleeding internally. So I had to be rushed to emergency surgery to stop the bleeding. And the whole thing was kind of a blur because I was on a lot of painkillers and things like that. But basically, they had to reopen the incision that they had cut, which is pretty gnarly. It's like along my whole stomach right here. So anyways, had to get rushed back into emergency surgery to stop the bleeding. And my 2 to 3 day stay at the hospital turned into a 9-day stay at the hospital, and I got discharged on June 9th, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. What I was looking forward to the most out of this surgery is finally figuring out what this mass was, and apparently the only way they're able to do that is if they take the entire mass out and get it tested, which was the plan. I didn't receive the pathology report until 9 days later. The day actually I got discharged was the day I got it. So I was at home, and all my family and friends came to make sure I was okay and kind of welcome me home from the hospital. And I get the report on my phone late at night, and I read through it. And it turns out that they discovered that the mass was actually liver cancer. It's called hepatocellular carcinoma. And lucky for me, they were able to take out the entire tumor, and it's all gone now. And so that's how I was able to beat cancer before I knew I had it, which is a really, really awesome thing. And it's, obviously a huge blessing that I was lucky enough to catch it early and get it removed. But the unfortunate part is that both the surgeon and my liver doctor told me that the likelihood that I will redevelop this cancer or the cancer will come back is pretty high, because I'm so young, and that my body has already built the environment for this cancer to kind of thrive in or exist in. They also said I have something called NRH, which stands for nodular regenerative hyperplasia, which is like a very rare liver condition, and there's not a lot of information on it. I don't know how this plays into if I will redevelop cancer or not. My surgeon said I'm likely to develop cirrhosis, even though I don't drink anymore. But yeah, so it's been kind of a wild ride. So going forward, now, obviously I'm still recovering from the liver surgery, and we don't know what will happen in a few months or a few years or ever. But going forward, I'll be getting an MRI every 3 months to monitor if any new tumors appear or if the cancer comes back. And if that is the case and the cancer does come back, then it'll be kind of a case-by-case situation where they'll determine if, surgically removing the tumor is the best option, or some kind of other cancer therapy or a liver transplant, all these options. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to be 28 and have another medical, thing happen. So yeah, in the last 3 years, we got the blood clotting disorder, we got the blood clot, multiple blood clots, we got the pancreatitis, we got the enlarged spleen, we had to go to 2 different hospitals, multiple surgeries, and now we can add liver cancer to the very big list of medical problems going on in my life. But I'm alive, and they caught it early, and so far there's been a solution to every problem that I've encountered, whether that be blood thinners or some medication that lowers my cell count, or surgery to remove a tumor. So I guess in that sense I'm pretty lucky, and I don't know, I guess you could say I'm a very lucky, unlucky person. I don't plan on, letting this ruin my life or be that person that's all down and out and doesn't try anymore, because that's dumb. So we'll see what I can accomplish later on, and how I can flip this into being something positive. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but still working on it. If you guys have any questions, or you're some world-class liver doctor or blood doctor that knows how to fix me, hit me up. I'll gladly take any help I could get. But yeah, I guess if any new developments occur, or anything else happens to me medically, which, knowing me, will just take a few months, maybe I'll post another video, and we'll make this an ongoing series of David's medical issues. This is part 2. So I guess that's my story for now, and we'll see where we go from here. All right, see you guys.